Hello, everyone, and welcome to this 15th episode of the Gaming Garden podcast, where we discuss everything related to foreign games. I'm your host, Josh, and this week I am joined by Eli and Christine, two developers from the team behind Crater Cove. Thank you so much for being here, both of you.
Hello. Thank you, Josh.
Yes, thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Josh.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting more with you about Crater Cove, which just released last week. So, first of all, congrats on your launch. I'm sure
Thank
you
you.
must be
Thank you.
really busy. So we'll talk about this game, your journey as game developers. At the end of the episode, as always, we will cover some news. So we've got the first trailer for My Time at Evershine, the sequel, the next game from the My Time series. Some news regarding Tales of the Shire, and a new game that just appeared on Kickstarter called Artisan Story. But first, I'd like to get to know more about you. So, Eli, you are the lead designer of Crater Cove. Christine, you are the art director. So, would you mind telling us a little bit more about your specific role and your part in developing Crater Cove?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, I'd like to apologize because we were supposed to be here last week, but we kind of, with the launch and all, we got a little busy. So basically, my role on the project is, I'm the lead designer. Basically, I kind of figured out and designed most of the systems and how the gameplay flow and all that stuff, so it is supposed to work. Also did a vast majority of the writing on the project, all the dialogue. Most of it was done by myself. Yeah, just basically I had to wear a lot of many different hats, being a bridge between my brother, who's actually the programmer on the project, and Christine, who was heading up the art side of it, is acting as the bridge between it all, kind of thing. Small team, so everyone had to pick up things that maybe they aren't necessarily comfortable with. I'm I'm definitely not a animator, for instance, but I had to spend a lot of time messing with animations and things like that. So yeah, just a lot of different things.
Great. What about you, Christine?
So from the art standpoint, yeah, it's a lot of kind of deciding how the look and feel of the game was going to be. We wanted kind of like a junky, wonky sort of style of the game. So it was a lot of like, okay, how do we make this work as a game? How can we take a bunch of pieces and just sort of smash them together and make this all work? So yeah, so I was working with when we were partnered with Tiny Build. They set us up with an outsourced studio called Puga, which I believe is Room 18 now. But yeah, so they worked directly with them, kind of figured out a good look feel of the game, and then we just kind of went from there, just building and building and building. All of the stuff that you see in the game was either between them or internal art studio or art team that we put together ourselves.
Mm.
So just a
So,
lot of fun stuff.
how big is your team? It's a pretty small team, right?
Right now, yes. So right now we are just down to really about 4 of us.
Yeah, we
It's
have
a
4 full-time and then
yeah.
2 other part-time people.
I see. So the game just launched in early access last week. How has the first week been? How are things going so far with the early access?
It's been incredibly positive.
Yeah, it has.
Basically, we're really happy with how the launch has gone and the response that the players have had to it. Um, uh, we're just getting some really excellent feedback, and that's part of it. When we're developing it, we want that feedback from the players, because that really helps us focus, because we want to make the game that the players want, and so but overall, it's just been great. Busy, but
Yes.
really rewarding. I'll say that.
Yeah, I can imagine. One thing I noticed is that you've putting a lot of emphasis on the player feedback. So you've been doing a lot of play tests, a lot of demos. You have a very active Discord, so it seems like you're trying to really get a lot of feedback and shape the game depending on what players like and dislike. Is there one particular piece of feedback that you're hearing a lot that you're working on right now that like stands out the most to you?
The one that currently stands out to us is we're getting a lot of feedback on the farming system at the moment. Basically, our game is I wouldn't call us like a hardcore farming game. We're kind of I would say more on the simpler side, but it sounds like the audience wants a little bit more out of it. So we're going to be taking a look at that and adding a few more systems to it, making things like watering a little bit easier, because right now a lot of people are like not really liking how the watering mechanic works. So we're going to be taking a look at that, making that, smoothing that out. Another one that happened like actually earlier was the fishing mini game. Is we
Yeah.
had this fishing mini game, and we just immediately got a ton of feedback from so many people going, please don't do a mini game, please don't do a mini game. And so that was one of the things that we actually pulled out right before we launched. Was we removed the mini game just because yeah, the immediate feedback was
I like
don't
the
do
mini
this.
game.
That's the thing, is I do too, but it
Yeah.
was kind of overwhelming how many people were like, don't do this. And I'm a fan of like fishing mini games too. So,
Yeah.
but you know, the game's not you make the game for the people who want to play it. You
Exactly.
try to
How
satisfy as
it
many
must
as
be
you
hard
can.
to find the balance between like the vision that you have for the game and the things you want to
Mhm.
put in your game because you like them. And then you have the feedback from the developers. So how do you decide? You have like a line or a way to decide, no, we're gonna stick to what we want to do, or okay, we're gonna listen to the players.
Yeah, it's definitely a fine line. You don't just acquiesce, every to every whim or everything you hear. Otherwise, you're just going to be constantly chasing your tail.
Hmm.
You'll just never get it done. So there is a fine line, and usually it's things that you might not be 100% certain about, or not, necessarily like, well, we can go two ways about this, can go one of two ways, and you don't have a strong feeling one way or the other which is the correct path. And well, players will tell you pretty
Yeah.
fast.
So the game, could you tell us for how long you've been working on this game? When did this project start?
Our very first post was on November 2017 on Twitter. So that kind of gives you a rough idea of we were specking stuff out a little bit obviously before that, before we showed anything. But yeah, it was very quite a while ago. It was gone through so many different changes since then. Originally, we weren't going to have like a full sailing system. It was going to be more of like a top down, like you were going to be like a little cartoon boat on top of a map sort of idea, and then you were going to just sort of like tap on an island, and your character was just going to sail to that island, and you were going to walk over there. And Jason, our programmer, found a Crest water system and was like, "Ooh, this is fun," and then started playing around with swimming. It was like, "Ooh, this is fun." We just kind of kept building on these different systems as we were kind of coming up with stuff, and sort of just throwing ideas out and be like, "Oh, this is fun. This is fun." All right, how do we make this into a game?
I feel like also since 2017, I feel like the gaming scene, indie games, we have like cozy games now that are super popular. I feel like everything changed so much in these last 5, 6 years. So I wonder, did you change at one point when you noticed that like cozy games became more popular, like change the direction of the game, or you already had like a clear idea of what you wanted to do?
So, like when we first, like even before we were working on Critter Cove, we were working on a game called Seeds of Magic, which was a kind of a magical take on Stardew Valley kind of thing, and Story of Seasons, and that sort of thing. So we had been looking at this sort of in this genre for quite some time, and um, Critter Cove was just kind of a natural evolution of, as we were making it, it just kind of kept naturally evolving over time as we were building. Like Christine was saying about the water system and about diving and about exploration, and we started finding our own little niche in the cozy genre, which is and we noticed that not a lot of these games do open world exploration. and really go, hey, go out and find things in the world and discover stuff. There, a lot of times they're a little more focused and on a very particular area. You know, you're stuck in a city or a one map or whatever. And so that's just the kind of the genre we kind of wanted. We wanted to be a little bit more on the adventure game side of the cozy genre.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I can imagine how difficult it must be because every month we have so many cozy games releasing, and a lot of them are very similar. Just last week, there were so many releases. Is it stressful for you when you see the competition, when you see the amount of cozy games releasing all the time? Or do you think it's a good thing because means there's more people playing cozy games?
so I mean, it's you can't really compare. It's like you can't really say you're going to be looking at your competitors. I don't know if I would call them competitors.
Mhm.
I think everything is growing the genre. More and more people are getting into it. People play multiples of these things. So they're people who play My Time at Porsche, Animal Crossing, Stardew all at the same time. There's room for everybody in the genre, and it's a good thing, I think, because you
Mhm.
also get more eyes on it. Because when we first started doing this, there was only a handful of really, like, I would say, successful cozy games. And it was a much smaller audience. And as it's grown over time, more and more eyes have been getting on it, and it's allowed a lot of the indie people to make different sorts of takes on the genre. And so not everyone is doing, just Stardew clones, and not everyone is just, doing an Animal Crossing clone or whatever. They all have something unique to say and something different to say, and it's really just growing the genre.
Mhm. So what would you say makes Critter Cove unique? So you have the exploration, the open world aspect is definitely something we don't see as often. Are there any other features that you added to this game you were not seeing in other games and you wanted to? What are some of the new things that people can expect from Critter Cove?
Christine could talk about the character customization. I think is the best. I think it's the best in the business at the moment. It is you can make yourself into pretty much anything almost anything you can imagine. That's your player character.
Yeah, definitely the character creation. I know there are some players that can spend hours just creating their character before getting in the game. It's such a strong, like anything is possible. So could you tell us a bit more about that character creation and why did you decide to do something as
So
big? It's
so
like a very
crazy.
ambitious, very nice system.
Thank you, thank you. So let's see. So kind of comes back to both Eli and I used to work on MMOs. So we kind of cut our teeth on Star Wars Galaxies. So we're used to playing crazy MMOs with really just wild character designs. It's you have your humans, but then you've got your elves and your orcs and your lizard folk and your fish folk and all sorts of just crazy, crazy things. And one of the things I noticed in like the cozy community games, it's like they're always they're humans. You can throw on some elf ears and fairy wings and stuff, but they're pretty much in that genre. And so when we were starting this whole thing, it was just literally just the three of us. So I was the only person doing all the art, and I was looking at Animal Crossing, going, okay, well, a lot of the stuff is based on these character head types. Everyone's got the same body type, which is very similar to how we worked on MMOs, where everybody's got the same body type with some blend shapes to kind of make yourself sort of fat or muscular. So you have that kind of stuff. So you have to build some different T-shirts to fit those different body types. But then from that, you're basically just swapping out heads. For us, we also did the hands and the feet, so you can swap out all that kind of stuff. And so with just those a texture swap, a head change, and then ears, you could really just kind of go crazy with just a handful of changes. And so to kind of not really compete, but to try to get on like the same level as something like Animal Crossing, where it's like, okay, they've got 400 characters. I'm one person. How do we make this work? And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to make a cat head, swap out the ears so you have a raggedy ear, tall ears, short ears, folded over so you can make a little Scottish fold. And now you can make 50 characters now with just those few
Mm.
changes. Just really simple type stuff. Obviously, we went really crazy with it.
Yeah.
And we're still adding more to it. I got lots of requests for monkeys and horses and some fun stuff. So you can do your monkey island. But yeah, just taking feedback from players on stuff that they want to see, which I think is really fun. So just definitely adding to that system, and it makes it really easy because it's literally just okay, make a new head type, make some patterns, make those ears. I mean, it's not easy, but
Mm,
it's that
yeah.
kind of idea of you're not having to build an entire character from scratch. It's I'm just having to build a few pieces of that character, and then that could go in the game now, and now you have a whole new collection of characters that you can make with just a handful of new art pieces, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was wondering, I don't know, I know you have like a pretty extensive roadmap. There's a lot you want to add to the game. I was wondering, did maybe I saw it wrong. Will there be a way in the future for players to customize the other characters, customize the villagers, and give them different appearance?
Not the
No.
characters themselves, the way that they are. You can change
Okay.
out their outfits, but with the salon, what we want to do is open that up so that character or people can create their own characters to actually
Mm,
go on the world. And so you'll actually be able to design a character from kind of the ground up, and then
okay.
we toss them in the world, and now you can find them as a tourist. You can find them out in the world and rescue them and bring them back, and now they're a villager in your or a townie in your town.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I like that you're making full use of that system. One thing that stood out to me with this game is, like you brought up, the shops. I like that the shops really make a difference, and I like that it's how you make money. Because usually in these games, you're gonna make most of your money with farming or fishing, and I like that here you almost have like a passive income. Like, yes, you work to build the shops, and then they kind of do their own thing. Where did you get your inspiration for that mechanic?
That definitely comes from sim games, kind of like Tavern Keeper and stuff like that, and where you're building out your city, and you put down, okay, I put down a shop, and now that shop earns me X amount of money. And then we also wanted to add in that the tourist mechanic into the game, and so you have the people who come to your town and then use all the things that you put down. And so with the shops, it just made sense that you give the people who live in your town a job, and so they're helping you out. In a lot of these games, earlier on, anymore, they're all changing now. But we noticed that a lot of times the people who lived in your town are kind of passive. They just wander around the streets and they wouldn't do a whole lot for you. So we wanted to try to give them jobs, and they would actually actively help the player in a way. So they'll run the shops for you. We're going to be expanding that out as we grow. There's going to be some new shops coming in. We want to add additional jobs into the town so that for the cafe, you have the cafe worker. Well, you'll be able to hire a waiter, waitress type character who will go around to the characters as they eat, and you'll make some more money doing it that way. We'll be adding in even other jobs like gardening and a farmer help who will water the crops for you and things like that, so you don't have to do that yourself every day. And so you'll hire a character, like a critter, to do it for you.
Mm. So I noticed that you're adding a lot of things to this game. It's a pretty, considering that you started with 3 people, I feel like it is a pretty ambitious game, even though you all have experience in game development. Do you sometimes feel like this game was too ambitious for a first like indie project together, or
Every
how
day.
did you decide? Yeah.
All the time. But yes, it's hard to decide what to cut, because everything feels like it belongs there organically. And so um, a lot of times we just looked at what was the most important thing on the list. What do we well we what we felt was the most important thing. And then we have all these other things that we want to do, and we always look at that list of the things that we want to do with the game, and we're like, is today the day that we're going to pull this one out and put it and plug it into the game? Yeah, it's ambitious, which is why it took since 2017.
Yeah. And do you think, could you tell us, is there like one particular feature that you really wanted to be in the game, but you had to remove because it was just too expensive or time consuming to make?
from the art side, we wanted to do completely different body types, which would have been a lot of fun. Right now, we just have the kind of the fat and skinny versions of the characters. And when we were talking with Pugo, we were trying to do like you'd have like a little short character, a really tall, skinny character, one of those, kind of those sort of like the different cartoon character tropes type body styles, where you have like a collection of characters, and they all have these very different, unique body type styles. And so that was one of the things that we wanted to do, but we just we couldn't get time for that one.
Mm.
Yeah, I would have. It might still happen. I would love to get more personalities into the game, more critter personalities for you to interact with. Right now, we only have 5. I have an idea for like another 5 on my list, but it's a ton of writing, a ton of localization. So that's one of the things that is kind of like, well, I'm hoping we might be able to get a couple more at least.
Yeah, I noticed the personality. There are different. You have some mean villagers that are very reminiscent of the original Animal Crossing villagers that are very rude to you. So that's a nice touch. That not everybody's like perfectly friendly right from the start. So I thought that was nice.
That's the same thing that we were thinking too. Is Christine especially was a big fan of the earlier Animal Crossing games where you'd had that where you had the meaner characters, and so we wanted to make some of the characters that you might not see in a typical cozy environment where they'll be a little rude and they'll be a little mean at times. And the idea there, of course, being as you build up more friendship with them, they kind of come around, and they you can actually see the character
Yeah.
growth as you're playing the game. Have a few more ideas for like some different sorts. Like one of the personalities I'd really like to work on is an evil personality, like a little megalomaniac kind of character who's wants to rule the world. Kind of a cartoonish villain sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. So right now, are they like split up pretty evenly? The personality, are they random or are they?
No,
Okay.
we build all the characters by scratch, by
Yeah.
hand, and then assign different personalities to them. And then I tried to make sure that we have a fairly even split of happy, grumpy, perky, male, female, and then we have non-binary characters as well. So we try to keep that
Mm,
as sort of an even split as possible. So you have a nice range to choose from. Hopefully, you don't end up with too many of the same type, but it's also RNG who you end up with, who you
yeah,
see
exactly right.
in the world. So. And then
Mm,
who you enjoy. It's like who do you want on your island? So
do you have, Christine, a favorite character?
uh so far, so I put my little kobold in the game, which I thought was really cute. Her name was Eki from like a tabletop D&D Pathfinder game. She was my little
Mm.
kobold ranger, and so I stuck her in there for fun in early access. And right now she's been a favorite of everybody that I've seen. Everybody's really happy to see Eki. I'm like, oh, okay, cool,
Oh, that's
cute.
sweet. That's nice. Are there other like little Easter eggs like that in the game, like things you took from real life that
Oh,
people
of course.
might not know at first glance?
We had a bearded dragon named Nacho, and she was very, very sassy. Lots and lots of personality for a little lizard, and that was the inspiration for Pokey. So,
Oh, that's cute. Oh, that's sweet.
yes. And then, yes, friends and family, pets. There's characters that are in the game that are named. Tucker is my sister's dog. Shmore is a friend of ours. He's got a sweet little calico cat, so she's in the game. So stuff like that.
Nice. And so right now, the game is in early access. Could you tell us a little bit what are the next things you're working on? Like in the next update, what will be added to Critter Cove?
So the next big update that we're going to do is we're going to be expanding the world. We're going to be adding our new biome into it, which is the our enchanted biome. It's islands which have these massive mushrooms have grown all over it, and there's an entire storyline which will further the lore of the world and kind of give people even more understanding of what happened to this world. Um, all new quests, all new shops are going in. Um, we're going to be expanding, you're getting some robot helpers so that the players will be able to build some robots, place them around the world, and they'll help the player harvest resources just like passive harvesters. Um, things like that. But yeah, the big stuff is definitely going to be the enchanted biome. It's going to add 4 new islands. Each island is bigger than any of the other islands that we
Oh,
have,
okay.
so they're really large areas. This also will include all the underwater areas, which will, and then it'll bring in the new collectibles, the new rewards, furniture, clothing, decoration items, stuff like that.
What about you, Christine? Is there something in particular that you're looking forward to, that you're working on at the moment?
At the moment, it'll probably be additional character stuff. So, because that is my that's my baby. I love working on the character stuff. So, having lots of new options that I'm working on. So, and then yeah, getting all that stuff hooked up and together.
I was wondering, do you have any plans for multiplayer for this game at one point down the line?
So right now, no. We're looking. We're just trying to get the single player experience locked in place and just really get it all working and handled. And then we might investigate it in the future, but the chances of that are probably a little bit low at the moment. It would be a popular feature. We do know we get that one. That one's
Yeah.
a pretty good request that we hear a lot about. People just it'd be great to be able to play in this world with your friends and share a town and stuff like that. That would be a really good thing to add. But as of right now, probably not. What we're probably going to also try to investigate a little bit into modding, trying to do some mod support. So that probably we'll probably investigate that before we take a look at multiplayer kind of thing.
And maybe then hopefully someone can make a multiplayer mod and you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
I can't even imagine how complicated it must be, like if you're wanting to add multiplayer to that game. Is there any feature that was really difficult to work on, or like something that give you a lot of trouble while developing this game?
We built an entire rules and behavior engine in the background, which runs all of these behaviors and everything simultaneously, because the world is always working. So even if you're away from the island, it's still functioning as it's supposed to. And so that is a pretty complex back end going on behind the AI system of how everything runs and how everything interacts and works together. Is a pretty complex AI system running in the background. So like when you see characters doing something wrong, it's generally the problem of something in one of the webs and noodles and nodes of keeping all the characters' behaviors working.
What about you, Christian, in the art department? What was your biggest challenge?
Probably just getting everything connected to work together. Getting those blend shapes. Granted, yeah, my artist Monica handled pretty much every single clothing item you see in the game, and she did an amazing job. But yeah, she had to build 4 different versions of every single outfit you see, and then from that, I took that, created, built the blend shape data for that, weighted it, hooked it all up in the game, and so it's just a matter of just hooking all that stuff up and making sure I keep track of everything. The amount of times I'd create a bug just because I had a collection of like 50 horn items that I was like, hooking up into the game, and then making sure that every single head can now have that all those horn styles in the game, all working together. It's a lot of data to put all that stuff together. So it's really just more time consuming, but yeah.
It is a lot. And one thing I noticed with this game, so you have so many types of environments, so many outfits, so many pieces of furniture. How much of these 3D models are made in house? How much did you source? Because it seems like there's just so much in this game. So I'm wondering, are you doing everything by yourself, or did you outsource or like bought a lot of assets as well? How do you manage like what you make and what you get help from other
Yeah,
sources?
Yeah, very little's purchased. Pretty much everything was either split between Puga, the outsourced studio, and then our internal artists, which was Monica, Bernice, Luis, Isaiah, and Ricky. Um, yeah, Monica did almost every single outfit. We had Ricky doing almost every single pattern that you'd see on the characters, as well as on their on the clothing. We have all those. You'll have like a T-shirt, and then there's like 5 different variants of that one T-shirt with different patterns on it. And so he had done all those different extra patterns on all that stuff. Bernice made all of our food items, lots of plants, furniture items. Isaiah did most all of our deco items. He did that really cool the tour boat that the cruise boat that shows up. He built that. So a lot of the big items, the deco items, and then Luis was also working on a lot of character work, a lot of deco items. A lot of the stuff that he did was stuff that you'll see in the Enchanted biome, a lot of the mushroom stuff. Puga did a lot of our buildings. They did the boat, the tools, a lot of our the rocks, the flora, that kind of stuff. Some of our fish. Bernice did the other fish. It's really just it's a matter of just really split between the 2 different sides of the studio.
When we were Tiny Build, we had a little access to some more funds than we do now, and so we had a little bit more help, which gave us a huge step up. That really got us going. Puga handled most of the environmental type of things, and then our internal team took care of most of the specifics.
Would you have any advice for aspiring game developers that are like either looking for a publisher or looking for investment or looking for a way to get their game done? Because I know you started with like nothing, and now you have this whole game. So do you have any advice for like a small team that's getting started and they're looking for money?
Pitch to lots of people. Don't take the first offer. It's literally, in my opinion, it's better not to get the funding than to get a bad deal. We got really lucky. Tiny Build was, even though we were eventually let go by Tiny Build, but that had more to do with some financial issues. But they were really good to us. Nothing but great things to say about them. But I know a lot of other indie people we talk to, and they'll tell us stories about their publishers and they really would have rather not have done that, because a lot of times you're going to get into certain deals where the publisher will be taking their cut and do very little for that cut, and you'll find you're going to end up having to do most of the work yourself, and the marketing is hard. It's really, really, really hard. It's a lot of effort goes into it, and we were fortunate enough when we left Tiny Build that someone who was there and was also let go when Tiny Build downsized, that we had a good relationship with him, and he came and works for us a little bit part-time, and he handles all our marketing and all this other stuff, and it's just fantastic. It's a fantastic relationship in that regards. But my advice would be, don't take the first offer. Find somebody who is passionate, look at their track record, contact developer. If you're interested in someone and you're looking at their track record, contact developers that have worked with them before and talk to them directly and find out if they're on the up and up, or if they're, unfortunately, there's a lot of these publishers can be a little bit predatory, and so caution. It would be my approach to it. Caution, do your research, pitch your game to lots of people, find someone who you can have a good relationship with, communicate with some of the people they worked with in the past. Yeah, that would be my advice.
Very wise advice. Yeah, I feel like sometimes indie developers can get very excited, maybe as soon as they hear a publisher interested in them, and then they regret it a few years later, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
We actually so we made some games way long ago. We were doing some mobile stuff. We made a few games for Google Play and the Apple Store and things like that. And
Android, iOS.
we were working with someone, and that is absolutely what happened. They were kind of they they offered to publish. They were going to do all this stuff, and instead they just kind of took their cut and left. It was just,
Mm.
yeah.
We were stuck doing everything on that one. It was like, oh, you guys are going to help with like marketing, screenshots. Nope, you guys are making all the adverts and everything. I was like,
Mm.
all right.
Would you like to go back to eventually make mobile games or work on other projects, or you're gonna stay in PC gaming mostly?
Yeah, we're gonna stay. We're gonna stay in. This is where we're more comfortable. We weren't really a good fit for the mobile market. Our background is all PC gaming, MMOs and stuff like that, and so it wasn't really a good fit for us. So we're gonna stick with PC console style games.
Mm-hmm. Do you think this could come to console in the future?
We hope so.
Mm.
We're looking into getting it onto different consoles. We'd like it on every platform that we possibly can get it on. Um, you just have to weigh the costs of getting it ported onto the different consoles versus how much revenue we think it'll make out of that. But we think it would do pretty decently on most consoles. We think it would do really, really good on the Switch. The Switch has, its own challenges of as far as
Mm-hmm.
porting goes. So, but absolutely would love to get them onto every platform that we can.
Mm-hmm. And then next year, by the end of early access, we'll probably have a next console from Nintendo. So hopefully that will make it. Hopefully that would
Great.
make it
Hopefully,
easier.
make it a little easier. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be a nice.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a nice boost.
Yeah. And I know you both mentioned, so you both have experience with MMOs. I know you took some inspiration, for example, in terms of the character creation. Are there other aspects of the game that you took from MMOs in a way?
Yeah, it's kind of the adventure aspects of Critter Cove, where like I said, it's kind of an adventure game as much it is as a farming sim or a cozy sim. It's uh, want players to go out and check things out, and that's one of the baselines of in most MMOs, especially some of the older ones that we worked on, which was they were all about adventure and going out, and combat's a major portion of those games, but not necessarily. It doesn't have to it doesn't have to be like ours. Ours has no combat at all,
Mm-hmm.
and so but it still has those adventure roots.
Yeah. Have you considered adding combat at one point, or
We definitely
no?
considered it at different points, but it really just never felt right for the kind of game that we were doing. I don't know if we're really going to plan on doing anything like that when we add the little robot helpers, but it's one of those kind of things that's like, it's not really that kind of game. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had some conversations about it, and we were always like, well, does it need a little bit more? Do you need a little bit to fight on these islands and stuff? And we were like, well, at the end of the day, we decided not to. Will that decision change in the future? Maybe.
Yeah. Once again, it's hard to decide what to cut, what to add. I feel like sometimes I see a lot of games adding combat, but then the combat doesn't feel really good, and you feel like the game could have done without it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of finding the balance.
Yeah, that was kind of our thought. We were always like on the verge of whether it does or not. We decided to go with a little bit more, like just lean into what we're doing already. The dismantling, the tearing things apart. Sometimes you have to blow doors open or get keys or like fix little things to make the bridge collapse. So it's adding little like puzzle adventure
Mm-hmm.
kind of aspects to it helps out.
Yeah. One big part of the game with that helps with the exploration is your little boat. I saw on the roadmap that you were planning like a different type of boat or like more customization for the boat. Could you tell us little sneak peek, a little something about what you're planning for the boat?
Yeah. The player will be able to get a new hull type. It'll be a bigger. Eventually, you're going to upgrade to a larger ship, and the idea there is that will be able to carry more characters back. Right now, you can only carry one. You'll be able to travel between the islands much faster in this larger boat. What we probably want to do is tie a rope and have the tugboat hooked up to it, so you're taking them both. So the tugboat is like your little zippy craft to zip around the islands and stuff, and then the bigger one is what you use to travel between point A and point B, kind of thing. And then customization, yeah, we want to add in as much as we can so that players can, like, this is my, they'll make it like, this is my ship, and so different paint jobs and rails and flags and stuff like that.
Nice. I noticed that, so for the boat, for those who have not played the game, it's a little bathtub. And a lot of things, a lot of the items in this game are like kind of like makeshift, very like crafty DIY. What was the inspiration for creating this kind of like DIY, kind of maybe post-apocalyptic? Could you tell us a bit more about the world and the inspiration behind it?
Yeah, we decided, like, when we started building it, we were like, yeah, it would be really cool if this was sort of like everything was a little makeshift, and it was everything is a little ramshackled and just kind of like you said, it's a DIY kind of place. And so we were just thinking of how would these characters, what would these characters build a boat out of? And we were like, oh, it'd be funny if you're in a bathtub with a lawnmower engine, and that's silly and just kind of goofy. And so we've kind of made a juxtaposition of the world, and the characters in it are goofy and silly, and then there's like a little bit of this darkness that's hanging over the entire world building of, there's a sunken city down there. It's a skyscrapers. People used to live there, and now it's all flooded. And what happened? And what happened to this place that it ended up there? A lot of the world building and that sort of stuff. We took some. I'm a big fan of the Fallout games. And I think the thing that they do best, better than any other game I play, is the environmental storytelling, where you'll just run into an area and you'll see a scene. It doesn't have there is no in-game story to it or whatever. It's just a visual scene, and it tells you a story. And I've always loved those aspects of those games, and I wanted to bring some of that to the Critter Cove world.
Christine, do you have any thoughts, anything to add to that?
It pretty much covers it. Yeah, it's really it's amount of one of my artists mentioned, it was like, well, the characters seem to be insane. So what kind of insane thing would they do to build a house? Well, I just found out of a pile of rubble there's a refrigerator here, so we're just going to use that as the door to my house. So yeah, it's really just a matter of, what kind of silly thing can you find on the beach, and how can you repurpose that in the silliest way possible.
Yeah, it's very creative. And one thing I love about this game too, one mechanic I've not seen in other games, is how you need to dismantle the trash and all the broken things to learn those recipes to make them yourself. And I feel like it really encourages you to explore and like go back to all of these different islands all the time, and like just destroy everything. It just feels very satisfying to collect all of these fun for
Very
exactly
collection system stuff that, definitely that MMO callback sort of thing, where I've got to collect all these things to do this other thing. So it's like, yes, I love that.
Yeah. Is it possible to collect all the villagers? There's a
Not
limit,
well.
right?
It's limited to how many houses we have available. We've got, I think, over 50 characters. I think close to 60 characters in the game right now that you can potentially get, but only 15 currently houses. So we're limited on that. But yes, we're working on updating, adding any more available houses to pick from. So that increases your amount of characters that you can have in town at any time.
We're also going to be working on a system that allows existing characters to move out of the town as well. So we are working on a system that will allow you to kind of like, well, I want this character to move out so I could get a new one, and that'll be in place as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. And the player will be able to change house as well, right?
Yeah.
In the future.
Well,
Okay.
Hopefully.
yeah, that one there is you'll have to have so how it have to work is the player will have the NPC will have to have moved out of that house, and then the player can decide I'm going to switch houses with this person over here.
Yeah.
It won't be something that they can
Musical houses where everybody
yeah,
is.
that'll get a little complex. I'm worried about like we'd have to build an entire UI so that you'd be like, okay, I'm going to switch this guy and move this guy over to be house juggling.
Yeah.
That would be useful, but I can see how that's also once again a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any things? So I'm noticing there. Okay, so there are a few things with the UI that I noticed. So for example, you can decorate your town, and when you place decor items, like you can place like little statues, little toys, and it gives you money. I found it confusing because I can't tell if I put a bench. I don't know if that bench is going to generate revenue or not. If I put is there a way to tell what will generate revenue? Is that something you're planning to add? Because I found that part a bit confusing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is currently no way to tell, but it is something we're going to be adding in the future, so that it'll be like, okay, you'll be able to look at the item and see that, oh, this generates 5 per tourist use or something like that. And so it'll be something at a glance, something that's fairly simple in the UI that'll allow you to handle that. But yeah, you're right. Right now it's all like, okay, I'm going to put this down and let's see if what the NPC does with it. And sometimes they use it, and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, there's a lot of figuring things out, but it's still in early access, so I understand that. I think that's to be expected. That some things will be tweaked. Another little like piece of feedback I noticed. So right now it's always like the same music playing. I was wondering if you were planning to add more tracks later on in the game, because when you're on the island, if I'm not wrong, it's always the same track, right?
There should be
There's
there should be
variations, but it's
there's 2 tracks for the main island, and then there's a night variation. So it's technically there's 3, but that probably definitely needs to grow, considering how long how many hours you spend on the island. So yeah, we definitely want to grow our track list. There are different there's like different music for sailing, and then if you go out into some of the other islands, they have some different music that plays out there. But yeah, the main island I think only has 3.
Yeah, because I was spending a lot of time on the main island. I had to turn it off because it was just
just too
understandable.
Yeah, it definitely needs. That's definitely something that we would like to grow. Is as we go through early access, get some more music playing on the things, and get some variation, maybe even some variation, like when you're near like the tavern, for instance, the music kind of changes and stuff there.
Nice. So before we jump into our news segment for this episode, is there anything else you'd like to say about Critter Cove? Any topic you'd like to discuss or share with our listeners?
I would just like to say thank you to all of our supporters and everyone who's bought the game and everyone's played the game, and I'm so glad that people are liking what we've done, and I hope they continue to, and very grateful for everything, for their support, basically.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for the feedback. I mean, the bugs too. It helps us make a better game. It's really amusing or amazing. And thank you so much. We really, really, truly appreciate it. Especially since it's our first real game. And it's like, wow, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, I'm glad things are going well so far. And you still have the demo available on Steam. So if anybody wants to try it.
Yeah, we'll be keeping the demo up. We just found it's a great tool. One of the weirdest pieces of feedback we've always gotten from the game is people would initially look at like the videos and then not really get a good sense of what it was, and then they play the game and they're like, whoa, this is totally different than what we thought it was going to be. And so we've just found the demo is a great tool for us. Here's a free demo, just give it a try.
Yeah, I found that I play a lot of games, I play a lot of demos, and I really loved your demo because first of all, it's long, so you can get a really good taste of the game, the beginning, the different mechanics, and then it carries over to the whole.
Yeah.
Like your save file carries over, so you don't have to restart.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we didn't mean it to be as long as it was. We only thought it was going to be like 2 or 3 hours long or something like that. And
Yeah.
it seems like people were putting
hundreds of hours.
we had people who put hundreds of hours into the demo, which
because
is
it doesn't
like,
stop.
whoa.
It doesn't like
No,
force
we
you
don't
to stop.
stop you.
Yeah. I mean, even 2 to 3 hours would be already. It's already pretty good. I feel like. I think I played it for about 4 hours, but anyway, it's a pretty long, pretty long demo. So now we're gonna jump into our new segments. We have 3 low stories, and you're free to give your thoughts on them. I don't know if some of them are games you've been looking for too. So one game that a lot of people have been excited for this year is Tales of the Shire, which was supposed to release during the holiday period of 2024. They recently announced that they are delaying this game. So this is a cozy game in the Lord of the Rings universe, and they are delaying it until early 2025. It will release for all consoles and PC. And on September 22nd, they will do a showcase where we'll get to see more of the gameplay. Is it a game you've been personally looking forward to playing or that you've heard about?
It's been on my radar a little bit. I'm interested to see, what they do. I think this is their first game that they're making from
What a workshop.
Weta. Yeah, I think
Mm.
this is their first title that they're the first time they're stepping into the game arena. So it's kind of interesting to see what they'll do.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to push a title like this because I doubt they'll do an early access or anything like that. So it's a good idea to push it and make sure that when it releases, it's solid. Because I think Lord of the Rings Lord of the Rings stamp is going to bring in a lot of eyes and a lot of people.
Have you had to delay Critter Cove, or were you pretty much following your time frame that you had since the beginning?
So
we delayed it so many times.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Christine.
No, yeah, it's been one of those things that's like, oh, this is coming out next year. Oh, wait, no, next year. Oh, we were with Tiny Build, and we were kind of having a bunch of different dates as far as what they were hoping that we would launch the game, and it's like, oh, nope, we missed that one. Okay, let's push it out another 6 months. Oh, nope, let's push it out 6 months. And then after, we lost Tiny Build, then we had to push it out again because it's like, okay, well, now we've got to really downscale everything, and now we're just on our own. So let's see what we can do.
Fortunately, we never had to publicly do that because I don't think we ever told anyone a date. So we never had to publicly say we were delaying the game.
Yeah.
I guess that's better. That makes it easier, so people are not as worried. Because people do get worried when another game people have been looking forward to is Fantasy Life, the new one on the Switch. That's been delayed like 3-4 times, and people are still excited, but they're getting worried. Like, what is wrong with this game? Why is it being delayed so much? So, yeah, Tales of the Shire. Hopefully, it will be great. Our next story is regarding Artisan Story. So this is an indie farming sim that just launched their Kickstarter campaign today. They have a goal of 10,500 Australian dollars. Obviously, they will have stretch goals as well. I will have if anyone's interested, I will have a referral link in the description if you want to support the game. It will support the channel at the same time. And yeah, it has this 2.5D with like 2D characters, 3D environments. Reminds me of Ragnarok Online, which I'm sure you're familiar with if you worked in MMOs. Yeah, have you heard? It's like a pretty niche. I don't know if you've heard of this Artisan Story game.
I hadn't heard of this until you had mentioned it.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've seen it. So yeah, I had no idea what the game was about, other than looking at what they're explaining in their Kickstarter. Their goals should be pretty doable. I think when I looked, they were almost there.
Yeah, they're close to 50% of their goal right now. So I think they should reach it. It seems like, I know, to me it seems like a small amount I don't know. I don't know what's there. I don't
A
know
lot
their
of
finances,
times,
right? So
yeah, a lot of times you do the Kickstarters. Less. It's less about the amount and more treating it as a marketing beat.
mm.
To get an initial boost and get everyone, hey, take a look at our game, kind of thing.
Have you considered doing a Kickstarter for Critter Cove?
We talked about it
Yeah.
long time ago. We always talked about it. We looked at it, and then we always kind of drifted away from it. Kickstarters are a lot of work, and yeah, they can be, if you know what you're doing. Like, there's some publishers out there who are really really good at doing Kickstarters. They
Mhm.
just know exactly what they're doing, and if you can do that, then it's a really good marketing beat, and you can make pretty good money off of them. If you don't, it could be a lot of work for very little bang, and
Yeah.
we weren't really comfortable with trying to run one.
Yeah, it does sound like so much work, especially if you get into like the physical rewards
Hmm.
Mhm.
and then there's like community support and like especially if you're a small team, it does sound overwhelming, but hopefully it helps them. For audio listeners who can't see the game right now, so this is a farming sim where you can tame monsters. You're an artisan, so there's going to be a lot of crafting, different islands to visit, 52 townsfolk, um, 18 dateable one. Seems very cute, so feel free to check it out.
I like their use of mini games in a lot of their crafting stuff. It looked like they were doing like a little forge mini game and a little
Hmm.
cooking mini game. I
Mhm.
thought that was a nice little touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the minigames. Once again, just like the fishing in Critter Cove, it's very divisive. Some people love the minigames,
Mhm.
some people don't like them.
Very true.
I feel like a lot of games have this mechanic where you have to do the minigames for a certain period of like a certain amount of times, and then when you level up or when you like unlock something, you can automate. You can like skip the minigames.
Mhm.
Hmm.
A lot of games do that, so maybe they'll do something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
I
like,
mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's the classic present the players with a problem and then give them a solution
mhm,
kind of thing.
yeah. And lastly, so I think for Critical, you took a lot of inspiration from the My Time series, right? Yeah. So
Yep,
right now
absolutely.
they announced officially their next game. We talked about it on last week's episode, but now we have the first trailer. And what are your first thoughts when you look at this trailer, having played the
I
previous games?
did not recognize it. Didn't I was like, what game is this? It looks really nice, but yeah, it's like, oh wow, the characters grew up.
Hmm. Yeah, they definitely have more realistic body
Mhm.
proportions because they used to have like really big heads.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So now they're more realistic. It still has, you can still feel the My Time, like with the outfits, I think the
Mhm.
color palette. You can still tell it's that universe, but it's very different. It's very
Yeah.
different, but very beautiful
Yeah,
as well.
the environments are, the environments definitely are, the my time environments.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was surprised about they really like adulted up the characters
Mhm.
quite a bit, which is a big departure from their previous two. Um,
Exactly.
Also, I was looking at their website. They had front and center. They were talking about the romance. So my guess is they're going to be putting a little bit more emphasis on romance uh, in this particular in this
Hmm.
sequel, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like they will definitely change up the gameplay a little bit. One big feature of this game is that, so in previous entries, you would rebuild or like revitalize towns that were not doing too great. But in this one, you're going to build a settlement from the ground up. So you will recruit settlers and you're going to build building from scratch. And I think you'll be able to decide where all the buildings will go and like decorate. And yeah, so it's going to be a very different approach to what we had in the past.
Yeah,
Uh,
it definitely
yeah.
it looked. I thought that was kind of an interesting departure as well. You're absolutely right.
Hmm.
They had yeah, the building up your own city is an interesting thing. I mean, that's a big departure. Like the original Porsche, that was a big inspiration for the look of Critter Cove,
Mm.
of the town itself. We really liked the multi-layer approach where you had the town on several different levels and stuff. And so I'm interested to see what they do with this, because I know this is an early trailer, and the town looked like it was a very built on a very flat open field, and so it was a
Yeah.
very there wasn't a whole lot of height differences and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to do terrain manipulation, which would be really cool.
I wonder, because since you're going to be building the town by yourself, I feel like it probably makes it easier if it's flat, unless you add like a terraforming
Yeah, that's what I was
mechanic.
thinking.
Yeah.
But that would be, I don't know. That sounds like a lot. Yeah, I'm curious to
Yeah,
see.
maybe.
We'll have to wait and see until we hear more.
Yeah, I've enjoyed
Mm.
both. I enjoyed both Porsche and Sandrock, so I mean, I'll definitely keep an eye on this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't wait. So they will be doing a Kickstarter campaign on September 24th. That's kind of their thing now. They do a Kickstarter campaign every time.
Yep.
And they said that, so Sandrock cost them $12 million to produce. They're estimating a similar budget for this game. So it's a pretty big. Like, the Kickstarter is just going to be like a small portion, and I think, like you said earlier, it's probably mostly for marketing reason, just to like hype up the game. I think that'll be a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're another one. They know how to run Kickstarters, so it's probably at this point their studio can handle it pretty easy, and they just know, okay, here's the beats, and just do it.
Exactly.
So it makes sense for them.
They know what they're doing, and they're experienced with these games. And when I look at the trailer too, there's a part where you're gliding. You have a glider. It looks so much like Palia. I don't know if you've played Palia.
I was gonna say, it's it reminds me of Palia, but I didn't want to say that. But yes, if you're going to say it, then yes.
If you showed it to me without the UI, I would think, oh, this is a screenshot from Palia.
Yeah. Definitely see what market they're looking at.
Yeah. Every game's getting their glider. Are you going to add gliders in Critter Cove? I mean, there's not too many like mountains, right?
We'll just we'll just add more balloons, and you'll just float away with the balloons.
That sounds fun. Well, thank you so much. It was so interesting to chat with you about Critter Cove. Once again, thank you so much. Congrats on one week of being in early access.
Thank you.
Hopefully it all goes smoothly and as well as it could be from now. Anything else you'd like to mention? So once again, there's a demo for your game available on Steam. Anything else you'd like to say to our listeners before we wrap up?
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, yeah, just go out, give the demo a try. It's free. It's on Steam. No pressure. If you like the game and you decide to buy it, your save will go right over. So just, thank you for listening. And thank you, Josh, for having us.
Well, thank you for making some time to join me this week. I really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for listening, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.